Welcome to Carter's Retro Reviews. Today we're going to be reviewing Megaman X3. Now my copy is the Japanese copy, so it says Rockman X3, but make no mistake, it is very much Mega Man. To be honest with you, I was actually a little bit disappointed. See, I thought this title was actually not Mega Man X3, but Mega Man XXX, meaning that it was going to be some sort of hentai crossover. I was expecting some messed up shit, but instead what I got was a platformer, and a relatively safe one at that. But hey, is it any good? Well, let's check it out. In today's review, it should be noted that I'm playing a Japanese copy of Mega Man X3, and some of what I experienced may be associated with a Japanese copy on a PAL Saturn. The entire series of Mega Man was on just about every console that ever mattered, and since the Saturn matters, it got 3 Mega Man games. Its distribution could very well be a reflection of Sega's organisational skills at the time of the Saturn's life. Mega Man X4 and 8 were released in both Japan and US, but no European release. Yet, Europe and Japan got X3, which is a bit confusing. Why not have all 3 in all 3 territories? Yes, I know the Saturn was dying, but X3 was released before the other 2, and at the very least, you could have helped the Saturn in the US with a Mega Man title early on. So the story is set in 21-2. Dr. Kane makes this team called the Maverick Hunters, which are to stop any kind of rebellion happening amongst the Reploids, which by the way are intelligent robots. In steps Dr. Doppler, and he creates this technology that stops the Reploids from, well, pretty much being dicks. Then something happens, of course it happens, it always happens, the robots snap, and Mega Man and Zero are called in to clean up the mess. Depending on what happens in the game will depend on which ending you get, which is pretty cool. The presentation is something I need to bring to your attention. On one hand, the menu presentation is very welcoming and gives us something very familiar. But on the other hand, there's this border around the game and it annoys me to my very soul. It should be something so minor it's not even worth mentioning, but it feels like they didn't port it properly, or didn't spend enough time to make the resolution fill the screen, or something. I'm sure there's a technical reason, but it's something about the game I didn't particularly care for. Otherwise, the game is laid out in a very typical Mega Man kind of style, and is aesthetically pleasing. Graphics are pretty much spot on, really. Colours work really well for the game by contrasting just nicely with the animation that is silky smooth. There is no blurring or glitching that I found while playing the game. But at the risk of sounding spoiled, I would expect they got 2D right on a console which was plastered as this 2D powerhouse. I also think that if the graphics weren't great, people would still be far lenient because it's Mega Man. I don't think the cutscenes are great graphically, but I haven't seen many Saturn titles where that's the case anyway. Sound is pretty good. Nothing too out of the box, but nothing terrible either. Play the save card and sometimes that's the best we can ask for. However, I did find that there was some sound glitching during the videos spread throughout the game. When it comes to gameplay, I could never really understand the appeal of the game on such a large scale. I mean, I love the series, but then again, I love plenty of other platformers which didn't get countless sequels or the huge dedicated following Mega Man got. But after playing many platformers, there is only 2 things they get absolutely bang on that makes what any platformer could have to make it as good, and in a lot of cases, don't. Firstly, it's the detail in the level design. Having the enemies put in a spot you know are just going to stop you and attack you every time adds that attention to detail, making something seem so easy while at the same time stopping the player and forcing them to assess the situation. In addition, they've made the levels enjoyably easy to follow. Secondly, the characters and bosses get all the right elements. There are still 1 or 2 games in the series that go off the rails a bit, but in X3 there is fun to be had that I can't really fault. I did notice a few levels where the enemy placement didn't have that high level of quality I've come to expect, but the rest of the game is 100% pure, unadulterated Mega Man. Both Zero and Mega Man handle really well and are reactive like a father almost dropping their baby. From memory, and please correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first time in the X series that you can play as Zero, and that too is pretty boss. I don't feel like Mega Man has much in the way of replayability, technically. Yes, multiple endings, that's cool. But there is something inherent about a Mega Man game that you'll just come back to because it's a platform staple that meets what you expect. And if you can put yourself back in the day, with a year or 3 separating the releases, the numerous sequels start to make sense. Would I recommend this game? Well, I've read from others that the game packs cliched conventions and you'll need the manual dexterity of a 9-year-old and the intelligence of Forrest Gump to really enjoy this one. But I didn't think that's the case at all. I would definitely recommend this game, if you can afford it. If you can't, emulate it. While I still think you could find better platformers in the 90s, it's also a really good way to spend some time.